So I'm here at BGG.CON 2014 with Eric from Stuntkite Publishing, and he's going to show us Patchistory.
Sure, yeah. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, good show. So Patchistory is a civ building game in the family of Through the Ages, Nations, and so on and so forth. The game is played over 3 eras, and there's 5 turns in each era, so there's 15 turns in the game. At the beginning of each round, we're going to do an auction for these tiles that are here. There's 1 deck for every era, and so you never quite know how things are going to come up, what's going to shake out. We auction them off using our currency here, and when you gain a tile in the auction, you patch it onto your existing area with some limitations in mind. And so maybe I picked up Aristotle, right? And so I'm going to patch Aristotle onto my area here, and maybe like that or like this. When you patch a tile, you have to patch at least one of the squares underneath or on top of your existing area. Okay, so if I had this farm, for instance, I could put the farm like this, or I could tuck the farm underneath Homer like this, or put it out like that. So you could do stuff like that. Everybody starts off with this 2x3 tile, and then you're going to gain 15 new tiles to be patched on over the course of the game. When you patch a tile, it's going to give you some kind of other abilities or increase your output in certain aspects of the game. And so when I patched Homer, for instance, here, Homer's going to increase your political output ability, the amount of things you can do each round, and he's going to generate more food for you each round, right? And so you would, you can kind of see it here, but there's a reference board here. This gives players a snapshot of what's happening on the table here. So instead of having to count up symbols every turn all the time or reading text and figure out, you can just look here and say, this person's generating 3 food each round, 2 money each round, and 0 culture and 0 resources. And look here and see, their military is such and such high, and so on and so forth, right? So every time you gain symbols or text or something that affects that, you'll change these values, okay? After we have patched our tiles on and we make sure that this is accurate, then we move on to we move on to diplomacy and management, where you can do the actions that are listed on this blind cover here. So the layout that I have here is open, but in the real game, you have this set up like this, and it hides all of your culture, your victory points, your money, the buildings you could build, your food, your resources, and everything. Okay? It also tells you what you can do each round, and so you can do diplomatic actions, which are offering aid to a player, threatening a player if your military is higher than theirs, or breaking an alliance that was previously made in the game that doesn't suit you any longer. You can use and then after we've done diplomacy, if we want to do any, then we move on to management, where you do kind of the bulk of the turn. And so you use your political actions to do these things, birthing new workers to move on to your empire to go to work in other places, exchanging resources that you have an excess of for something that you have a deficiency of, building new buildings, building more trade routes with other players so that you can interact with them in different ways, and so on and so forth. Once everybody's done the management, then we move on to a couple other steps that are kind of production and worker maintenance and so on, where you'll produce whatever this cog side of the board tells you to make. So this player would make 3 food, minus whatever their worker maintenance is, make a couple of bucks, and then maybe make some culture, or maybe make some resources. And then we move on and rinse and repeat. At various times over the course of the game, workers will move on to these trade routes. So players have these trade routes here. Workers will move on to these trade routes, and when they reach the second to last space on the trade route, we will have what's called a negotiation, and we'll figure out whether we want to go to war with each other, form an alliance with each other, or just call it a day. All right.
You do get good ideas.
We do that with these 2 chips, and we decide what we want to do, and so each of us will get a chip, and we will decide secretly and then reveal them how you want to react. And so if you put up the red side, you are considered an aggressor for that engagement, and so you've said, I want to fight, let's be fighty. And if you're the blue side, then that means you either were trying to form an alliance, you want to be friendly, or you're the defender, right? When we get back to this step next turn, the war will resolve. And so you have an entire auction and an entire management phase to figure out what you're going to do about this war, and if somebody went to war with you. And then when we go to the next next turn, when we resolve the war, we check our military scores and then spend any resources that you want to expend to temporarily boost up your military. And then the winner gets victory points from the bank, depending on what era we're in. And then if they beat if the winner beats the other player by 5 or more military, they actually steal victory points from the other player. So you have to be careful of that. But if we both did the blue side, then we have a couple of choices. We could say, nah, we're good, we're cool, just gonna walk away and just call it a day. Or we can form an alliance with each other and build a special allied trade route with each other that says, we're cool, we're allies now, neither of us can threaten each other with the threaten action, nor can we go to war with each other, right? And then hence the break alliance action, where later in the game maybe you and I made an alliance at some point early in the game, and now your military is pretty awesome and mine's really bad. And so you decide, well, this doesn't really work for me any longer. So you break the alliance, and then you start sending waves of armies over to steal victory points from them. So that's how the wars work. Losing a war is not the end of the world, but losing it by a lot is not so good, right? So that's the game. Plays in about 2 hours. There's a few more things I didn't cover, of course, but yeah, it's good.
And it's a 2 to 4 player game.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you say it's a light, medium, or heavy game in terms of being able to pick it up and...
Heavy.
Yeah, heavy.
Yeah, yeah, definitely heavy. But just like any game, once you've played it once, like it's all, you got it all. It's all pretty intuitive. There's a couple of sticky points for people sometimes, but overall, it's once you know what's up, you got it pretty well. So, but it's definitely a heavy. It's there's nothing fluffy about it. So.